I would like to share my thoughts on the game of chess. As someone who is a tournament player, someone that has attained a fairly high rating within the game, uh, you know, I feel like that chess is really like life. It really is like life. And it's a good analogy, and I feel like it's pretty insightful. Um, One thing that I know is that it's kind of you need to remember that life it's not a game with a fixed set of rules. It's like a evolving kind of thing. It's a really evolving kind of thing, and it's very dynamic. And the pieces involved, they're not always under our control. Um, but the principle, of adaptability, the principle of strategic planning, and there's other principles like perseverance, things like that. They're really valuable for trying to get through the challenges and get through the opportunities of life. Um, just just like they are in a game of chess. Um, and you look at it, there's a lot of similarities. There's focus, you know, it requires your intense concentration, just like, when you're going through the complex things of life. And every move has a consequence. Um, every move, it affects the game's outcome. And, in life, every one of your decisions, has consequence. Chess has a beginning, middle, and end. Obviously we all know that. But in the beginning, you develop your pieces, you develop your skills, you try to develop your skills, Sometimes people mess up in life. There have been people that messed up, but you have time to readjust, and it's not the end. Sometimes you can, mess up, but you can still win the game. Not everything's so obvious. Not everything is obvious, because chess, it's manipulative, kind of like, or a better word would be, it's like deception. And life, it often has hidden layers to it, and it's very complex. Um, but if you look at, you know, um, chess, the game, and life, it requires, your foresight. You need foresight. You gotta look for your, opponent's moves, and you gotta plan ahead. And life, it's about making decisions, with long-term consequences. And, you got to really consider, potential outcomes. And you got to be patient. It's like a principle that I'll go back to. I said, there's a principle also of perseverance. Chess really requires perseverance, and life requires perseverance. The reason chess requires perseverance is because it can be long, and it can be, really challenging at times, unless you're playing like a 5-minute blitz game or a bullet game. But life, you need perseverance to achieve, your desired outcome. You want a goal, and life is full of obstacles and challenges, so you need that perseverance to get through that stuff. But going back to, I was talking about the beginning, the middle, and the end. Well, the end game there, if you look at the end game, so chess has a clear ending, right? So chess has a clear ending. You either draw, you either stalemate, or you win. Well, life, it also has a definite end, but, those outcomes, they're less predictable. But every move and, every decision, that you're making, can either bring you a disadvantage, it can bring you an advantage. And, even when you act on the best planned decision, the wisest decision, it can bring you a negative outcome, and, you can bang your head on the table. Why did I do this? Same as in life. But, the pieces, they got to keep moving, though, just like life keeps on moving. And, wins and losses, they're a thing of life, it's a thing that you have to go through. And there's sacrifices that got to be made at some point. And, just expect the unexpected. And when you make a decision that wasn't really well planned and you lost something due to that, well, it makes you think, twice next time. And you mustn't ever regret any decisions, right? Because every decision is a lesson. Well, I should say every mistake, rather, is a lesson. And mistakes, they're part of your fate. And in that fate, in our fate, our life, our game, it doesn't, stop till, the king's trapped or, we die. So, you just got to keep going. And, as you, ironically, start to get better once you win and you continue winning, you'll keep yourself better. But the losses come regardless, of your best position in, the game of life. And you just got to accept that. And so I just want to share my thoughts. I just want to, talk about that. How life is very much like chess. And if you have any thoughts, please write them, below. Please write them below in the comments section. And let me know what you think and spark up a conversation. We need more person-to-person communication, which is one great thing about chess, is that it sparks person-to-person communication, something we desperately need because the society, I feel like, is going, so digital and nobody wants to talk to each other. And even chess is going digital. I much prefer over-the-board chess to online chess any day. But please write your thoughts below, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Bye-bye.